how do we begin to implement a green energy revolution? First of all, what is your take on energy and renewable energy and green jobs? Secondly, assuming you're for it, which I'm going to go out on a limb, say you are, how do we begin to implement a green energy revolution?
All right. I think we've gone above and beyond in terms of not only just talking about what we believe to be the future of renewable energy, but as I mentioned earlier, we have an eco-bus. We actually took a 1980 school bus and we totally redid it so that we put solar panels on the roof. The entire inside, everything inside runs on solar energy. The bus itself runs on ethanol, and everything in it is, almost everything in it is recycled material. Everything from the floors all the way up to the curtain rods. And we're now trying to order the cushions to be hemp cushions. Everything in is designed to show and demonstrate. So we drive this bus around and we take people in, we give tours, and we talk to them about the future and how the future of this country, especially things like buses and like mass transit, how we can actually turn this into positive things ecologically. I think that as a campaign, like I said, we not only talk about it a lot, we actually demonstrate it through the use of the bus. That's the first thing. To get into specifics of it, I think that one of the things we have to do is, we talk a lot about in this country about wind and solar and water energy and the need to be 100% renewable, and that's extremely important. There's no question. I think every candidate, though, sort of every Democratic candidate, pretty much agrees with that. We see the future. It's got to be renewable, and yes, we need to push it. But there are things that we need to do to actually reverse global warming. First and foremost is regenerative agriculture, and that's something that's not being talked about, and it is probably the single most important thing we could do to start reversing the effects of regenerative agriculture. Reverse the effects of global warming by using regenerative agriculture. This is a process where you stop the tilling, where you actually come in and plant certain plants, where carbon is being drawn back out of the atmosphere. It actually reverses the process and it brings it back into the soil. Now, what this does is it actually provides for additional water storage so that farmers can make more money, they have better crops, and they can survive through droughts much easier. Those are the kind of innovative things we need to push. And here's the thing, Ron, that I think makes this extraordinarily doable. It makes it profitable, more profitable for farmers. We have people who are already out there. We have a friend of the campaign who works with us who is actually working on a bill. It is bipartisan, and they're getting Republican support. And the reason they're getting Republican support is the Republicans realize when the bill's explained to them, this is a way for farmers to actually increase their production and increase their profits. You know, Democrats aren't going to make hay by going out and talking to farmers about global warming. But if you go to farmers and you talk to them about a profit and increasing that profit, their ears perk up and you're going to listen. Those are the kind of programs we need to be talking about, in addition to talking about the renewables and going to solar and wind and water.
You know, it's interesting you brought up cooperation with farms because, you know, in the news this week, there was that whole thing, or maybe it was last week at this point, but where Donald Trump wants to gut food stamps and instead give people like a box of non-perishable food. And, you know, obviously this administration is just another effort at privatization. It's just an effort to, cut corners and just, shame poor people even more. But if somebody were to implement kind of a different take on that, where as a mix, like, and I thought, like, what if somebody actually came at this with the right intentions and say they did something like the government gets more involved in subsidizing farms, and then local farms provide people in need with maybe a crop share every week in addition to food stamps. Man, that could be something that could actually really help people's lives and could actually help our country as a whole. And wouldn't that be something? But of course, that's not the intention here. The intentions are in the wrong place. But if they were in the right place, a similar idea might actually be something positive. What do you think?
I think you're not only on the right track, but I think, and I wish I could cite it to you, but I know there is a gentleman in South Dakota who is actually proposing and pushing that very thing, who is a farmer. I know that they're doing some similar programs in upstate New York. I'm sorry, Ron. I know I've read so many things, especially lately, that sometimes I forget where I've read them. But exactly what you're talking about is being implemented in certain areas where you're getting these organic farms who are actually being subsidized by the government to provide fresh fruits, vegetables for the local communities and for people, especially people who cannot afford them and who can come in with vouchers and actually go to these organic farms and get these fresh vegetables and fruits and things like that. It's actually being done. What you're talking about is being done. It's just not being done, and it's not being advertised and pushed enough. I do know, and I'm sorry, I just cannot remember the guy's name, but there is a gentleman out of South Dakota who's very well known. I think it could probably be Googled, who has been pushing this now for several years. He's becoming successful, and they have actually got it so that in places like upstate New York, Maryland, I think Maryland's also doing it. So there are other areas doing exactly what you're saying, suggesting.
That's great. And Bella Ryan in the chat here actually points that out, that there's certain WIC programs that give vouchers for farmers markets and stuff like that. And
yes.
Yeah, I mean, you know what? I mean, Pat, and we have this in common, and I'm sure you feel the same way I do. I really fell in love with the Southern Bounty. When I lived in Nashville, I had a local crop share. I knew my farmers. I would talk to them. They would talk about what was in the box each week. And it was not only just a rewarding experience, and it gave me, you know, fresh organic produce every week, but it was also very cost effective.
Yes.
I saved so much money because I would just base my groceries around what I got in the box each week. And they made it very, I mean, it was an affordable thing. It was enough food for about 4 people. So what me and my girlfriend at the time did is we would split it with another couple. So it was very affordable. And then we would just build our grocery list around what we got in the box. If we got a lot of greens that we wanted to make smoothies with at the grocery store that week, we'd buy a lot of yogurt and fruit. If we got some other like tomatoes or garlic, well, maybe we were going to buy some pasta and make a fresh garden pasta. You get the idea. And that is something that I just thought was a really special thing. And I would always try to push people to it. Bella Ryan points out that she grew up in Montana, pretty much lived off of the land. Hey guys, thanks for watching. That was a clip from Get Your News On with Ron, the world's first viewer-curated streaming news show. What does that mean? That means I log on to a stream and people tweet me articles over on Twitter at Ron Placone, or they use our Reddit subsection, which is just Get Your News On with Ron over on Reddit. And that's how we build the show. I'm seeing all these articles for the first time. We are literally getting our news on together. Follow me on Twitter at Ron Placone so you can participate. And this show streams live every Tuesday through Friday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. So please do tune in. If you want to support this show, you can do so over on patreon.com/Ron Placone, where for as low as $1 a month, you get access to exclusive podcasts every week, exclusive videos, free tickets to shows when I'm performing in your town, and more for as low as $1 a month. Please do consider it. Thank you so much for your support. This has been Get Your News On with Ron.